I'm ready.
Hey everyone. Welcome back to the AI in Action podcast. I'm your host, Adima Zorukario, product design and AI expert and the creator of the online leadership program, Unlocking the Power of Generative AI. And today we're exploring how AI is revolutionizing strategic leadership. We are thrilled to welcome Rajeev Kapur, a CEO and a best-selling author of AI Made Simple, to discuss how CEO and senior executives can leverage AI for data-driven decision-making and anticipate market shift for new growth opportunity. Get ready for a highly insightful discussion. Hi, Rajeev.
Hi. Good afternoon for you. Good morning for me. How are you?
I'm good. It's very early for you, so I hope that it's not too early, but I'm sure we're going to have really interesting discussion, and I'm really thrilled that we are having this talk.
No, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So let's start from the beginning. Why do you think is AI understanding crucial for leaders?
Well, look, to me, AI is, let me back up. So there's two kinds of AI, right? There's machine learning AI, and then you have all the excitement around generative AI. And machine learning AI has been around for some time. It's been around for years, right? We use it in Netflix and Amazon, in our day-to-day lives. It's pretty prevalent in our day-to-day lives, right? And the power of leveraging machine learning AI for executives is really all around your data. And I've spoken all over the world, Adi, and I'll tell you, I've spoken to in the last 2 years about 3,000 CEOs. And I'll tell you, I can count on both hands how many CEOs have good command of their first-party data.
Wow.
So to me, it starts there. If you don't understand your data, you're going to fail in the future. Forget about ChatGPT and Gemini and Anthropic, whatever. Forget about that stuff for just a minute. You first have to get a command on your first-party data. Once you have a command on your first-party data, then you can have the data tell you something. You can use that as an advantage, a competitive advantage to yourself. So to me, data is the new oil. But what's missing is that with raw crude coming out of the ground, you can't do anything with it. You have to refine the oil. You have to refine it to turn it into gas, right? Or have it do something. The same thing goes with data. The data is there, but we now have to understand it, and we have to build the refineries on top of the data and have it tell us something. So if you're a CEO, if you're a leader, and you don't understand your data, you're going to fail, especially in a world of AI that now is looking at your data, so it can now harness the power of generative AI, right?
Yeah.
So it's really a 1-2 punch. So you have to understand your data to take advantage of machine learning opportunities, and you have to understand your data so you can understand how to potentially maybe build your own private LLM, or how to potentially even understand how to even pull the data, how to even prompt properly, how to ask questions, how to leverage the whole generative AI side of the house. But to me, I think at first step, everybody on the leadership team needs to first embrace the machine learning side of what AI is all about. And then after that, they can go do the ChatGPT stuff. And here's the thing. I love ChatGPT. I've written books about ChatGPT. I think it's awesome. But I think right now what's happening is that most people, most CEOs, most leadership teams are saying, we'll just use it to make an Instagram post, or we'll just use it to create a job description. And it's so much more powerful than that. It's like having a Ferrari in the garage, and you turn it on the car, and you maybe take it out of the driveway, then you put it back in the garage. That's really what's happening, I think, with most people. And I think the problem is that a lot of us, we sometimes navigate in these AI circles, and we think everybody's doing it. 99% of the population doesn't get it yet. So there's still a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. When you mentioned that only 10 of them really understand the data, would they say that? Like, if you would have asked them, how many of you really understand the data, would they, only 10 of them would raise their hands? Or 20% would say, okay, I'm sure I know exactly what's going on?
I will tell you, I did ask them. And so I was just in Barcelona for an event, and I'm a member of an organization called YPO. I don't know if you've heard of YPO.
No.
So I was just at an event, and I did 4 different sessions on AI. It's called The Taste of AI, and it's designed to just give people like a beginning point of how to even start. Like, why is it important? Like, why they should do it. And one of the questions in the talk is, how many of you understand your first party data? And of the 600 people I talked to, or whatever the number was, 3 hands went up.
Wow.
So, they don't understand it.
Do they see that? I'm wondering why they don't have it, because I guess that many of their organizations have lots of data. Maybe it's distributed, maybe it's not organized as they wanted it. But do they understand that they're losing money in value if they're not doing it? Or they're saying, I don't have to get that from the data, I have people to do that?
Well, look, I think it's a combination of a couple things. No one likes to lose money, so I don't think it's a money-losing issue. I think it's an issue of not really understanding why it's important. So I think it's more of a lack of education. So, or not even like education in terms of like book learning. It's just like understanding why it's important type of situation. Because I think what happens is that they know they have data, but when you ask them the question, do you understand your data? Right? When it kind of falls apart. It's like, okay, yes, I have employees that speak Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish. I have no idea what they're saying. Right. So it's, and I don't mean to be that basic. The point of it is that what happens, I think, a lot of times is that CEOs look at their IT team and they think about break fix, keeping the laptops running. I think they look at, okay, is our website up, right? They get all the data and then they say, okay, well, we have to spend, somebody comes to them and says, well, we have to spend some money on creating a data warehouse, or we have to spend some money on data management tools, or we have to spend some money on getting a data scientist or a data analytics person to help us understand the data. And they look at that as cost. I think they look at that as CapEx, they look as cash or cost, or maybe some sort of ongoing operating expense or whatever. And I think they initially say, well, why do we need to do that? What are we going to do? Like, why is that important? And no one has really been able to articulate, I shouldn't say everybody, but I would say the vast majority of companies haven't really been able to articulate why that becomes, important. And so I think it's just more a lack of understanding, and I think a little bit of risk averse in terms of wanting to spend the money. But my goal is to make sure, hopefully with this podcast and the talks I'm doing all over the world, I'm trying to get them to understand and embrace the fact that if they don't start to embrace their own data and start using it as a competitive advantage, their competitors will. So when you take the optimal world of AI is when you take machine learning and generative AI and you partner them together. That's the ultimate, right? Yeah. And if they can't even do the first step, they're going to fail at the second step. So I just don't want people to go out of business, and so that's I think that's really the message from that perspective.
So they don't really understand how to leverage the data. If they have the data, they don't know what to do with it. What could have been a new perspective on their business through this data, actually.
Yeah, I mean, someone has to really hit them over the head and tell them why it's important. Like why it can be a competitive advantage, why it's an investment, just like you're investing in a new salesperson, just like you're investing in maybe some marketing tools. This is an investment to help you for the future, to help you grow your business for the future. Yeah, sure, the ROI might be a year out or 2 years out, whatever the case might be. I get it, I understand. And some people don't like that length of an ROI, but I'll tell you, it's either that or go out of business in 5 years.
So what are the most common mistakes and how can they avoid it?
Well, I think we just said, right? I think the biggest mistake is the fact that they don't really have anybody on the team who's kind of dedicated to harnessing the power of the data. I think they look at the chief marketing officer and say, oh, well, they'll pull some KPIs, they might pull some OKRs, they'll pull some data, they'll make some slides, and and they move on, right? Yeah. Because everybody's busy and everybody's short-staffed and everybody's got issues, everybody's got challenges, right? And so everybody likes to take the path of least resistance, and so as opposed to really building it right from the ground up. And if they just invested a little bit of time, effort, and energy and money in getting the data organized in a way that can really become a weapon to their advantage, they could be so much better.
What advice did you give these leaders if they want to start? They understand the value, they understand they could leverage this information and knowledge that they have in the company. How would they start?
Well, look, what I tell them is number one is just, go get yourself, a data scientist. And if you have to outsource a data scientist or if you have to go get a freelance data scientist, just get somebody on board just to start to understand what data you have. They don't even understand what data, look, they say, because I asked them the question, right? Do you have a good command of your data? They don't. And if you go deeper, they probably don't even understand really what type of data they're collecting beyond the normal stuff, right? Oh, or CRM data or whatever. Right? Okay. Yeah. Or so whatever, that's fine. But can you go deeper? Do you know how many proposals are going out the door? What's your close rates? Well, what's your product mix? Is there a time of year that brings your seasonality? Like really kind of thing, is your pricing, how does your pricing work? Is there, whatever that might be. So whatever, I mean, just everything's there. And so, so that's really the first thing I just tell them, look, just get someone and just to do an analysis of what you have. Really the first step. But look, to me, in this world for CEOs, to me, I think there's 6 key takeaways for AI success, right?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm sorry?
I'm listening. You said 6.
Yeah. To me, the first one is it's all about being curious and not judgmental. Right? So CEOs have to be curious. They have to be willing to think outside the box. They have to be willing to really engage and not be judgmental against what this could offer. They have to be open-minded. So, and if they are, then that takes us to number two, which is this really has to be top down. Any potential failure in the next few years that a company might face, and the CEO did not embrace data, did not embrace AI, I'm telling you, it's going to be their fault. It won't be anybody else's fault, but their fault. So it has to be top down. This is not like, hey, I don't understand what Twitter is. Come and teach me how to tweet, and call the intern, or what is this Instagram reel thing, or come and teach me what an Instagram is and teach me how to create an Instagram post. No, this is top down. It has to start with the CEO up here and has to be pushed down into the organization. And if they have people if their CMO, if they have people on their C-suite that don't want to do it, then they have to get rid of them. They just do. There's no option. There's really no room for error. Third one is the data. We already talked about it. Like for the last 7 or 8 minutes, we talked so much about data. Data. They have to have that command of that data. So that's kind of number 3. And number 4 is, to me, the word artificial intelligence gets, sometimes can be used as a bad word, right? People think artificial, it's fake and scary.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not about artificial intelligence, it's about augmenting intelligence. It's about enhancing our intelligence. It's about helping us, right, bridge a gap that might exist. And if you do that, you can do number 5, which is the one thing money can't do, which is buy time. So if you do everything properly, if you're leveraging your data, if you're using ChatGPT or Gemini, whichever one you like, or Perplexity or whatever you like, Zapier integration, whatever you're doing, if you're doing all these things, then a 6-day task could take 6 hours. A 6-hour task could take 16.
Yeah.
A 10-minute task could take 1 minute, right? So it's designed to give you back time. And so if you can get this time back, what will you do with your time? Well, will you try to call more sales? Will you try to make more sales? Try to build out more strategy or planning or whatever? Or and it is not just in their business life, but personal life too. If all of a sudden you can get back an hour a day of your life, what would you do with that extra hour? Right? Would you go take a yoga class? Would you go whatever? Right? Whatever you want to go do? Right? Go and enjoy your life in a different way. Go spend more time with your kids or your family or your dog or pet or whatever you want to do. Right? So it's all about buying time. And then finally, it's really not an option. It's not an option. It just really isn't. And if people listen to this podcast, they can say Rajeev is crazy. Adi doesn't know what she's talking about. This is dumb. Well, they have every right to do that, and I wish them well. But I'll tell you, there's a very good chance that they may not be in business in the next 3 to 5 years. So to me, those are the 6 key takeaways for AI success.
Yeah, you mentioned time, which is very, very important. And I think it's not only for the CEO and C-level, it's for everyone in the company. So if everybody leverages AI in either marketing, sales, even inside the factory, it doesn't matter. Everybody could have more time, produce more, and in some cases, maybe you need less people. Right? What would CEOs, when you mention that, what is their response?
Look, I think the good news here is that, so I get a lot of people come to me after the event. I talk to people, reach out to me on LinkedIn, or they call me, email me, whatever the case might be. And I can tell you that, I would say a good majority, you can see them shaking their heads, like they understand, like they get it. Like I think the good majority go back to their offices. In fact, I've talked to quite a few of them afterwards, right? And and a lot of them, they go back to their office and they take it seriously. They shake their head, they come up to me, they say, okay, well, how can we do this? How can we do that? They get it and they understand. And I speak to people all the time. Like I spoke to a gentleman last week who's got this business that does car repair. And they do have a special car repair business that processes kind of insurance claims. And because what happens sometimes in parts of the States is you have these tornadoes or you have hail, and sometimes the hail can be this big, like the size of a golf ball or even like a baseball, right? And it dents the cars. So they can, in the bad weather time, like especially right now in this season, we're kind of right now between this winter, spring season, they get a lot of heavy storms and they could get 3,000 claims in one day.
Wow.
And so they're now looking at AI to be able to process those claims. They can maybe process 3 claims a day with normal human beings. But with AI support, they can process, 30 claims or hopefully get up to maybe 100 claims a day, right? And if they can get there, now they can process all the claims in 30 days as opposed to taking a year to process the claims. If that happens, they can increase his business, his revenue, and his throughput and get happier customers. And you know what I mean? So I think people are starting to get the message, but it just takes time. I mean, look, to me, this is the greatest development for humanity since the invention of electricity. And when you think in those terms, how do you even begin to convey the message, let alone change minds? All you can do is continue to put the message out. And so I appreciate you doing this podcast. All we can do is keep putting this message out that this is, here's the opportunity, and that you do not get left behind.
And what would be the first thing that would make them more reluctant? Is it like safety? Is it like not wanting to change, which is a very good reason? Maybe it's privacy, saying like, what would they say that they're more reluctant to use?
Yeah, I mean, all that, this privacy or, lack of understanding or knowledge or don't want to spend the money or, some people even think it's a fad, it's going to go away in a year or two. It's not that important right now versus other priorities in the business, and so there's all kinds of excuses, there's all kinds of issues. And so, for whatever.
What would be like the first use case that you would mention to them? Like being differentiated from your competitors, knowing more about future growth, competing better in what would be the main use case that would make them more curious or understand they need it?
Well, I don't think there's a use case that's common for every single company, right? Mm-hmm. I think every company is a living, breathing organism or a living, breathing entity at different stages of maturity, doing different things, right? So it's like asking me, if I was to advise your podcast and 10 other podcasts, what's the one thing that all 10 of you should do at the same time? Well, that's not fair because 5 of them might already be doing it, and you know what I mean? So it's not fair to say, I don't think it's fair to say, well, what's the one thing they should do? And I think, again, I come back to if there is a one thing, which is, and we've been saying it now for the last 25 minutes, which is that they have to really get command of that data. They really do. They have to spend the money to get the command of that data. That's really the first thing. And then from there, it's about, to me, just as much as getting command of the data, they have to be willing to change the hearts and minds of their organization to understand why this is important. But it has to start with them. They have to believe it first.
Yeah, I think that usually it doesn't come from top down. Usually it's the other way around.
Right, but
someone from marketing, someone from sales would understand the value, but usually not the CEO.
No, the reason why this has to come from top down is because the bottoms up people are worried about their jobs.
Let's say it makes sense.
Right?
They have a good reason.
Right, and so people from the bottom are like, well, if I implement this, am I going to lose my job? So that's why it has to come from the top down. And look, on the job front, I think a couple things. I think what will happen on the job front is I think you're going to see whole new industries come out. Like if you think about the iPhone, right? When Steve Jobs first created this thing, right? He never envisioned Uber or Airbnb or us, or Zoom app or Riverside streaming on our phones or laptops, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Calendars and whatever, right? Text message, iMessage, WhatsApp, Instagram. That stuff wasn't in his head, right? He knew it could be a catalyst.
They didn't have the application at the beginning. They just had a
so it took like iPhone 5 or 6 before it became powerful enough to be able to handle the video processing or whatever, right? So my point here is that technology evolves, and if you think about all the new companies that have now been and all the new jobs that got created because of the smartphone, that's millions of jobs.
Right.
So we don't know yet what the new job world is going to look like in terms of new job creation. I think what's going to happen is you may not need as many people doing the jobs. Instead, you'll have more companies. Does that make sense? So if you are a company today, if you're going to launch a company today, and let's say before generative AI, you needed 100 employees. Pick a number.
Right.
Well, now with ChatGPT and others, you now might need only 50 employees. You still need employees, but you may not need as many. Mm-hmm. And so, somewhere there's a really smart kid, there's a really smart kid somewhere sitting in their parents' house or their basement or their garage or wherever they are, and they're building a company that's going to be $1 billion business with only maybe 1 or 2 employees, and the rest of it's going to be AI.
Right.
So I think you're going to start to see. I think that's what's going to happen, and I think there'll probably be a little bit of job loss. I think there'll be some consolidation, but then there'll be new jobs going to get created as well. But we just don't know what that is yet. I think what will happen is, to me, I think the bigger issue might be if AI really is augmenting intelligence and speeding things up. Are we going to go to a world where maybe we have to go to a 4-day work week and maybe even a 3-day work week at some point? So to me, I think those are some of the things that we'll see what will happen over the next couple of years. Yeah, that's where I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm teaching in the entrepreneurship school in one of the big universities here, and I always start with, I think that Sam Altman said that we're going to see a one-person unicorn really, really soon, as you mentioned. And I think that everyone who's doing not only entrepreneurship or business owners or CEOs of companies, everyone should see the value or the benefits or the upcoming changes and what is the meaning for them. Maybe some of the things they perceived as impossible, maybe now it's possible for them to do that. It doesn't matter within your role for something which is only a hobby or something that you're interested as a new initiative, you could do that right now.
Yep. I mean, there's really, the only thing that's going to limit you is your own imagination. So, one of the skill sets I think that's going to be really in demand is the idea of storytelling. Because in order to really leverage generative AI and ChatGPT and the different tools like that, the more you can be a storyteller, the more successful you're going to be, because you have to learn how to weave a story within the prompt. And that's really that idea of prompt engineering, right? And so it's really that. So the people who have good command of their language that they grew up in or whatever, people who know how to tell stories, people who have good imagination, they're going to really benefit from that.
Yeah. So how can companies build a data-driven culture to support AI?
Look, I think, again, it starts with the top down. I think it starts with really investing in the organization, saying we're going to invest in this to make it happen, really making it part of their strategy and initiative within the organization, and really understand it's going to take time, but then really start to hold the people who are responsible for this to hold them accountable, to really build this up. And so that to me is where it starts, right? I mean, it's, because if they do it right, they can use AI to enhance their decision making with doing some predictive analytics. Right? AI can analyze real-time data to forecast, market trends or competitive shifts or whatever it might be. It can reduce uncertainty in decision making. It could help maybe identify a new market faster. Right? It's about potentially maybe even developing more agility and efficiency within an organization. Right? For example, like if you are a product company or an e-commerce company and you want an AI can greatly help your supply chain management, your pricing, your demand forecasting, all those things can help improve margins. You can focus on developing really kind of these hyper personalized strategies. One of the keys here is right now, kind of marketing and advertising is kind of like one to many. It's like how do you kind of make it feel like one to one in that type of scenario, and then continuous learning and adaptability and developing, your employees and your organizations is what you can do those things. But it really starts with really first making it a key initiative and really making it part of your company's platform for success.
And when you teach them, are there like any key metrics that they should track to measure the AI impact?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I think it's all the standard metrics that they might be measuring now, but just understanding how they've improved or maybe how they've not improved, right? AI is not a silver bullet. It doesn't work in every single scenario yet. It's not alive. It's but it makes mistakes. So I mean, look, I think if you're going to start anywhere, I would start with the marketing side of the house.
The marketing and sales, or just marketing
sales.
Marketing and sales.
Yeah, understand the KPIs there. Understand, your product mix. Understand your pricing. Understand your competitive shifts. Understand, what is the data telling you that your customers want? If all of a sudden you have a product that's starting to decline, is it because of price? Is it because of your promotion? Is it placement, or did you shift suppliers somehow? The AI will help you find the answer, right? But you have to understand the data first to get the answer. So, again, every company's different. Some companies might want to really just improve their supply chain, like I said a few minutes ago. That might be the first place they want to go, right? They might want to improve their inventory processing or how long a product sits in a warehouse or how long it takes to get a product in. How can AI help, right? So, and there's small things. Like if you look at Amazon, if you look at Amazon and like these UPS and FedEx and all these guys, they use AI now to plan their driver routes.
Yeah.
So the truck gets filled and it gets strategically filled. The first stop is when you open the truck, the box is at the first stop. So they go all the way in the back, right? But they plan it when you leave the warehouse, they try to make, it's interesting because they try to make right turns only on their plans. Because if they make left turns, they have to sit idly. Well, at least when we're driving in the U.S., right, on the right-hand lane. Yeah. If you sit on the left, depending on what country you're in, but if you sit in the left lane, you can sit there idly. You can be wasting time while they're waiting for the light to change. But if you're making right turns, you're kind of almost continuously going.
Yeah, right.
So they plan the route saying, okay, if you leave here, we're going to send you like this, and now you come back, as opposed to this and this and this and all, right now,
Yeah.
right? Whatever, right? So they try to get you to be more efficient. And look, in some cases, like I think Amazon came out and said by doing this, it saved them $1.4 billion by just doing that, right? And you take that times their valuation multiple, but that's huge. So
Right.
just simple things like that can matter. So it just depends on where the company wants to go.
Yeah, I think that what you mentioned, that it starts from the top, it means that everyone from the CEO and C-level, everybody needs to understand the impact of AI and what is the meaning for their specific department or what they are responsible for. So it's taking responsibility for your part and your contribution using and utilizing AI in order to get what you want, and much more than that. So maybe like training should be the first thing that they need to train all their like managers. Everybody should know about that. Or you're saying no, they should start with marketing and sales, see what's going on there, and then grow from there.
No, again, I think every company is different, right? I think some companies will be more advanced if that's the case. It's probably I think they need training to understand how to harness now what they have. Some companies that are not advanced, then you have to just start at the beginning. You pick a department to start with. So I think every company is different. So, again, and I hate to keep saying it again and again and again, it starts with the CEO and then it starts with the C-suite. If any group is going to have training and get religion around what's happening, it's going to have to be them. So there's that small subset, whether that's 5 employees or 8 employees or 9 employees, chief marketing officer, revenue officer, CIO, CTO, product officer, HR, whomever they might be, that group has to understand it first. They have to believe in it. And then they can push it down into the organization. Look, I mean, there are companies right now that are growing really fast. And for one job, they might get 500 job applications.
Yeah.
All right. Right now, HR can't go through 500 job applications because they're human and their eyes get tired and they can maybe review, and they have other things to do throughout their day. They can maybe look at 5 a day, right?
Right.
And they're not going to go through 500. They're not going to spend 100 days because that just keeps building, right? So, because the job gets posted and that 500 will turn into 1,500 over time. So they're not going to go spend all that time reviewing all the job applications. Ideally, they'd want a situation where they can upload it into they take all the job applications, they can batch upload it into AI, and they can say, this is the job we're trying to fill based on our requirements. Please go through these job applications and select the top 10 based on whatever the key parameters they might be. And then it says, okay, here's the top 10 that the AI recommends. They can look at those 10 first and go through that themselves. They can then shortlist that, or they can ask it, no, we don't like these 10, do 10 more. But the point of it is that it's there. It can be there as a really good assistant to help them. And it's not just there. If you think about the medical field, for example, like if you think about, right now we've been kind of talking about the corporate world, but if you think about the medical world, I think the medical world potentially has the biggest opportunity for AI, right? You've got doctors and radiologists, they get tired. There's a study that happened that I think it was MIT took 36,000 past breast cancer images, mammogram images, and they refed the images through their AI solution. And the AI found 11 additional breast cancer cases that the doctors and radiologists missed. So if you are that patient, if you are that woman, are you angry or are you happy? You're probably both.
Yeah.
So to me, this idea of AI, it isn't either or. It can be both, right? And so yes, they can be both angry and happy at the same time. They're angry because why didn't you catch it before? But they're happy that you caught it.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing goes with AI. Sure, you can start by doing simple things. That's fine, but it might take you some time. All I'm saying is just don't give up. You have to keep doing it. The more you do it, the better off you're going to be and the bigger advantage you're going to have over your competition.
Yeah, I think that what you're mentioning right now is the fact that you could start with something very basic, like getting the information from your CRM and asking questions, but it's much more than that. Once you train the LLM or the AI or generative AI to really understand what are your goals and what are you looking for, what are the questions, what are the decisions you need to make, like it's like an advisor that understands you as a CEO or a C-level manager and could help you within what could be asked, what could be derived from the data. And not only that you would know how to prompt it, it would understand the data, it would understand your business goals, and it will help you integrate a better solution through this understanding.
Yeah, and guess what? It'll also start to understand you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And maybe help me not only make better decisions, but maybe learn about other ways to manage what I'm doing, or other ways to decide or to collaborate with people around me, or with data from different departments. Or it could be like a real advisor that is not only a data analyst that is doing your work really, really fast. It could be much more than that. If you are giving it the information and interacting with it, it has the ability to have the impact on your business. As an advisor who remembers everything, who knows everything about the company and the data, and could really give you advices you never got from anyone else.
Correct.
What are your predictions for AI future in leadership and in business?
Wow, the future for AI leadership by predictions. I'm pretty hopeful that I think most companies will wake up and start to embrace it. I think you're going to see a transformative journey across all spheres. I think we're heading into a world where AI agents are going to start to dominate the landscape. I think a world in the next 5 years that'll be a combination of AI and robotics will transform manufacturing. I think marketing is going to become much more personalized and targeted, one-to-one. I think the medical field is going to go through a massive change and upheaval with us curing major diseases. Now we might create new ones, but because we're stupid, sometimes humans are stupid, and we'll create new ones by melting the ice caps, and that will release stuff that hasn't been seen in millions of years. So I think that's kind of where we are. I'm hopeful. I think that we're going to see, I definitely think at some point we'll go to probably a 4-day work week in the next probably few years. I think you're going to see a lot of companies go out of business, right? Because they're slow to adapt, or they just don't adapt at all. But I'm pretty hopeful that most will and will do that. But I think you're going to see a massive change in education, right? And how kids are taught and how kids learn. I think you're going to see, smart cars, I didn't say electric cars, I said smart cars are going to start becoming the dominant platform on the road. And this basically going to be robot on wheels. And that's going to be cool, because if that's the case, we can reduce car accidents, and the number one cause of hospital visits or emergency room visits is car accidents. And so that's I think that those are some of the things that'll be coming down the road. But I will have to ask AI what it thinks the future holds.
Maybe next time I will interview an AI agent, and he will tell me what he thinks would be the predictions. But till now, I enjoy interviewing people more till now. So what's your number one tip for CEOs and leaders today?
Again, I think it just comes back down to, look, I hate to be basic, but it comes back down to you got to just start using the tool. You have to be really curious and don't be judgmental. Understand and realize that this is as big as a shift as the internet was to your business. This is going to be bigger. And if you ignore the internet, you wouldn't even have a business. So why would you ignore this? So again, I come back to my 6 takeaways for AI success. Top down, own it, be curious, not judgmental, data, use it to augment intelligence. If you do that, it'll buy time, and then understand and realize this is not an option. Failure is not an option here. You have to embrace it. Otherwise, you will fail.
Thank you, Rajeev, for your time. Where could people hear more about what you're doing and contact you?
Look, people can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love it. I think you put my LinkedIn profile in the show notes. But my book is available on Amazon. It's called AI Made Simple: A Beginner's Guide to Generative Intelligence. In about, I think, a month or two, I'm releasing my new book called Prompting Made Simple. So that's exciting. So,
nice. Yeah. Congratulations.
That'll be out there. I'll also have a 3rd edition of AI Made Simple coming out. And then, like I said, I speak all over the world. And if anybody wants to reach out to connect with me on speaking, then my information will be in the show notes, and connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Thank you, Rajeev, for your time. It's been very insightful, and I enjoyed talking to you. So
thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. I invite you to sign up to my new online leaders program, Unlocking the Power of Generative AI. And I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya.